What does the future of food fortification look like?
You know, today the problem of micronutrient malnutrition is largely a hidden problem. You know, if we succeed in taking food fortification to scale, then 10, 15, 20 years from now, the solution may be just as hidden. We'll just take it for granted that good quality food has the required nutrients, fortified nutrients as part of it. You know, if I talk to people in the United States, most people don't realize that most of the food they eat is fortified, that there's vitamin D in the milk, that there's important vitamins and minerals in the flour, that they just take it for granted because it's become mainstreamed and scaled. And so, you know, I guess in thinking about a future fortified, 20 years from now, it would be good to just see that this intervention's applied and people more or less take it for granted.
We have to increasingly be looking at what the food system of the future will be, not be thinking of the food system of the past. And as I was saying earlier, you know, that food system of the past, if you were sitting in Africa, was looking at, you know, 80% rural population, 20% urban. And today we're looking at that moving to 60% urban, to 70% urban, and 30 to 40% rural. And I think that changes the whole dynamic. And so, well, what are those urban populations going to eat? How are they going to source their food? Hopefully, urban agriculture will take off in some way, and you know, cities will start to focus much more on access, not only food security, but nutrition. But in that future context, you know, I think fortification becomes even more and more relevant. And, you know, and I think, unfortunately, all the scenarios are that, you know, 40% of those new cities are going to be people living in slums who won't have a pot of a land to grow anything, and they're going to be living under $2 a day. So what we have to really be thinking of, well, how are we going to provide, you know, a diverse and an affordable, nutritious diet to those people? And I think we haven't figured that out yet, but that's the kind of thinking we have to do today. You know, there's new technologies such as, you know, 5-6 story high hydroponic factories that are rolling out now across the Middle East, you know, that take, you know, no pesticides, take a third of the water. They're already viable now, so you imagine 10 years from now, what are all those new technologies going to be? And they could provide that diverse diet to poor people at a low cost. So I think that's the kind of thinking we have to start to work towards.
Certainly the food industry has been very responsive to the request of governments, and I think it will be really important to have that leadership from the UN, academia, and then the governments to establish some clear objectives on what they expect to see in terms of a healthy diet of a population. I think the fortification and the reformulation are two important strategies that could go together and that the food industry could put in place under the big umbrella of a nutrition policy managed by the government.
We would, in 15 years' time, have both the evidence that has demonstrated the success of the way in which we've implemented the programs of mass fortification of staple foods. We will learn from the mistakes we will make, and definitely we will make mistakes. We would have both the type of consensus that we need, the political consensus, the social consensus about how we work together and what we do, that we will be committed to finding solutions to the remaining problems that still exist, and also that we have that understanding that the last mile is always the most difficult part of the journey, and that we would have the commitment and the courage and the determination and passion to continue that journey until we eradicate malnutrition in our world.